Well, good Monday evening to everyone. Joe Cioffi here, Fios One News Long Island and Fios One News New Jersey.
You said good evening.
Yes. Isn't it a good evening?
Well, it's a Monday.
Well, so I know, but it's the end of the day. We only got less than an hour left before we're out of here. So.
One down and 4 to go.
Yeah.
And I'm Joe Rayo, Fios One News, Lower Hudson Valley.
I was in the obnoxiously large swimming pool this morning.
Oh.
I'm likely to be in the obnoxiously large swimming pool tomorrow morning. The humidity's just been out of control. The temperatures have, we've had summers, Joe, where we've gone to mid and upper 90s, even over 100 degrees on certain occasions. We're hovering around or just over the 90-degree mark in most areas. Montauk got to 90 today, which it rarely does. Rarely. This is one day that a lot of spots on Long Island hit 90.
The airflow today must have been like 250, like west southwest, right down the spine of Long Island to allow that to happen in Montauk.
And in New Jersey, if there's an upside to all of this, this probably would have been a day where it would have easily gone to 97 or 98. But I'm thinking that the rain. And some of it, especially in parts of North Jersey, was fairly substantial. But for a good chunk of the state, the rain of last week, which was several to many inches, I think it's playing a role in helping to hold the temperatures down, even by a couple of degrees.
Yeah, and we may see more rain tomorrow and again on Wednesday, although I think much of the day tomorrow will be dry. If we do see any precipitation, any thunderstorms, and they could be strong and gusty. What else is new?
Yes.
Probably won't be until after 4 or 5 o'clock, and then we'll have maybe some of them will happen a bit earlier in the afternoon on Wednesday as a cold front. Not a cold front bringing in colder or cooler air, but to at least put a dent in the humidity for later on in the week.
Agreed. Let's start off with Hurricane Hector, because we have almost a Category 5 hurricane on the doorstep of Hawaii, although I think it is looking like it's going to pass far enough south where major land impacts will be minimal. I got
to tell you that considering that we've been watching this since last Thursday, there it is, or there he is.
No, I like it.
Yeah, it looks like a one-eyed monster. The storm system, the storm track for this particular hurricane has been basically south of the Hawaiian Islands, possibly giving the Big Island a glancing blow. Now that looks like not even that is going to happen.
Well, yeah, this is still a very, very small storm. It's not. If you look from where just the area in red, it's got that very symmetrical look to it, which strong Category 4s and Category 5 hurricanes have. You've got this the eye almost perfectly circular. The cloud tops there in the darker, the whitish gray. That it's expanding a bit tonight, minus 80 degrees Celsius. I mean, this is a powerhouse, no doubt about it. Yeah. It's gaining a little bit of latitude here, but it's, as models have been pointing out. By the way, that jump back west is only because the map adjusts further west.
Right.
But it's gaining a little bit of latitude here, but I don't think it's going to get that much further north than 16 or 16 and a quarter degrees north before it gets deflected back to the west. That seems to be the plan. And by the way, we do have an Air Force reconnaissance aircraft in there. Oh, I had the loop here. What did they do? Did they take the loop away? Are you kidding me? They just had it there. Oh, there we go. So here's the wide loop, just to give everybody just a bit of perspective, so you can see where Hawaii is. It's kind of right in the middle of the picture, and there is Hector. The pinprick eye on the visible satellite is just, I mean, that's just, when I see that, it's the power.
Right.
It's just, I get awestruck a bit.
It kind of reminds me of a hurricane that we had in the Atlantic Basin in the mid-'70s, Gladys, which it looked like a cotton ball with a pinprick through it. And it was a Category 4 storm, I believe, one of the most powerful storms that had been seen in that section of the Atlantic. And this too. I mean, this is very unusual to see a storm of this magnitude in these waters, which normally are cold enough to knock a lot of hurricanes down in strength. But Hector continues to maintain his strength, and you could just see, as you mentioned, Joe, is very small, and probably if it remains that size, will probably just skirt right underneath even the Big Island. the only thing that I'm sure that all the islands are experiencing now and will continue to experience are very rough surf. But of course,
yeah, the surfers will love it.
The surfers are going to going crazy probably with this.
We have the recon. This is all, by the way, on Tropical Tidbits, tropicaltidbits.com. This is there was a recon earlier, so they're not doing it from satellite estimates that they came up with 936 millibars. The first pass on this second flight here, 938 millibars. Now you can follow the path of the plane, and these are all the wind plots. It's very easy to read here, folks, with the wind barbs. You could just and the colors. So you can just look at the scale on the bottom. Will tell you what the wind speeds are, and when we get into right near the core, you're looking at that band that's 113 to 137 knots. And it came in on the northwest side and then came out the southeast side. Then the plane flies up, and now he's coming up and around.
Right.
I love having these for hurricanes. They're incredibly informative. You get to see. We didn't have any of this stuff when you and I were starting out. All these youngins are all spoiled, but anyway, both lived long enough to see this.
Right.
But it'll be interesting to see as it comes in now. From the north and going through the northeast quadrant, what it finds. But it's still holding on to its strength. There's no doubt of that.
It's just absolutely amazing that we see. And do you think it actually, maintains strength enough so that it go all the way out?
I just realized something. I thought I put this up and I didn't. I apologize, folks.
It wasn't up before?
No, it wasn't. I didn't bring it up on the screen.
Oh.
I'm sorry. So let's just real quick go back. So here it is. Here's the loop, and the well-defined eye. Just it's incredible. Very circular. This is typical, as we said, of the strong Category 4 and 5 hurricanes. It's got that kind of symmetrical look. And here it is on the wider view, that pinprick, and that's right in the middle. But you can see how small it is. And as we were saying with the recon, so this is all on tropicaltidbits.com. You can follow the flight path in, and that plane is getting ready to come around. It's already passed through the center once, and if you look on the bottom, there's a chart there, 113, 137 knot winds right near the center. So incredibly useful tools, folks, among so many useful tools on Tropical Tidbits. All right, now they can see everything that we've had so far. My apologies. It's Monday. It happens. This is the
spaghetti plot.
The spaghetti plots. These are the hurricane track models. And Joe, it's been pretty consistent. The vast majority of them all clustered there, well south of the Big Island. I mean, that's a good 3 degrees south. That's 150 to 180 miles south, except for 2 outliers that are a little further north.
But as I said, from like late last week, the models have been all pretty much right on target. They haven't been veering off to any degree. There have been no real scatter, so to speak.
Right.
And it's just amazing how the models have been able to handle this storm. It might be also because of the fact that the storm is so well defined, and it's just so difficult. How do you are not able to follow something like this?
Well, and in terms of the atmosphere, in terms of the upper atmosphere, it doesn't have. There aren't a lot of other game players in here. A lot of times in the Atlantic side, you've got this upper low, you've got a trough coming into the east, you've got some other system, all kind of doing the push and pull, yin and yang in all different directions.
Right.
In this case, we really were relying on the strength of the upper high that was going to build to the north, and that's it.
Right.
So, and there were 2 other smaller players. The models zeroed in fairly quickly. Also, as a note for someone watching at home, when you see these spaghetti plots, and I think you'll agree with me, whenever you see them really cluster together like this, your confidence in the model forecast is a whole lot higher, obviously, than when it's scattered all over the place.
Right.
That's why there was, I think, so much. We felt fairly confident about going south.
It seems like there are only 3. I don't know how many exactly are in this particular plot here.
Yeah, I'm not sure because they're all overlaying.
But there's only like 3 of them that are really like outliers. So
right.
if you eliminate those, you could just see how the storm is passing off to the south of the Big Island, and then eventually is going to begin to curl or curve a little bit to the northwest as we get further down the road in time.
And here's by the way, this is the GFS, and you know it's funny because somebody pointed this out to me, how the GFS and even some of the other hurricane models, which you know we could show you, but it's just pretty much repetitive, like the HMON and a few others. The pressure is only off by about 40 or 50 millibars. So the models do always seem to have a tough time with that. But here's the GFS and all its members, all of them passing south of the islands. There's a tropical storm watch up for the big island of Hawaii, but for the other islands, no. And there are tropical storm warnings up for the coastal waters beyond 20 miles offshore. So, which makes sense because they're going to get they're going to get wind and waves out of this if
but as you
don't
just said,
get any rain.
The surface will be hanging 10 for a number of days to come.
Right.
So.
And here's the late afternoon GFS, Joe. Again, all to the south. I could go on and on. The European also to the south. You know, there's one storm, though. I do want to look at one other thing before we go on to our local weather, just really fast, because there is another hurricane on the Pacific.
John, or?
It's John and Ileana. But you know, it's very interesting on the satellite because these two storms are very close together. I'm not sure which one. I'm going to try to figure out which one is the better one to look at. So let's do, you know what, maybe we'll do this wide. Let's see if we do this wide one. Ileana is right here near the coast. You can see it there, and it almost looks like it goes from being a separate feature. As John became a hurricane today, it almost looks like it's a feeder band into Hurricane John, but in fact it is still a separate entity, as the Hurricane Center says. It's probably going to wind up getting absorbed now. They were initially thinking that this could become a hurricane too, but John just kind of blew up here, and there's still another system to the west of John that the Hurricane Center thinks this could develop into a depression or a tropical storm as well. Very, very busy in the Pacific. Very, very anemic in the Atlantic, as it usually is.
We do have something out in the middle of the Atlantic.
Right, you can see it up there.
And the Hurricane Center has actually said there's like a 30% chance of some development.
But that's going up and out anyway.
But that's only in the immediate future, because as it goes up and out and moves over colder water, goodbye. So
it's done.
So.
All right, so let's. Why don't we come back home and let's talk about where we're going, because I'll put up the upper air. People are not necessarily going to be too happy with this.
I'm not too happy. I thought we would be done with this, but look at this. For the third consecutive week, we have another cutoff or another trough, this time in the Ohio Valley. This one looks a tad further to the west than the one we had last week, and of course much further to the west than the one we had 2 weeks ago.
Well, all right. I think this one actually is in between the one we had last week, because that trough actually started out down in the right along the Mississippi River. The other one was probably along the Appalachians, and it looks like this one is splitting the difference.
Right. Okay. Well, it seems like there's some kind of atmospheric hole or pothole in the atmosphere, and
they're all in the east.
And as the upper level winds begin to align or try to align out of the northwest, for some reason it hits this pothole, and all of a sudden, boom! You get that closing of the lines. And what else can I say?
Well, here we got today, and we've got this front that's going to take forever to get through, but it probably should get through here by Wednesday night.
See, now stop right where you are. Yes. Now this is Thursday afternoon. Notice the lines are coming out of the northwest, so it most definitely looks like we're going to see a dip in the humidity.
Yeah, let's.
Oh, hello, Hector.
Yes. We'll draw a little bit.
And this is what, I could live with the heat as long as the winds were coming from the northwest. I said, all right, so at least it'll be dry. It'll be, as they say in Arizona, it'll be a dry heat. But suddenly you see that little blob, that little bagginess in the contour lines over Missouri.
Right.
And that's like, uh-oh. And from there, it starts to evolve into
so here's our northwest flow.
Right.
We're not very deep in the northwest flow. This is the other problem. The trough to the north doesn't really dig all the way down. So those westerlies get down to about southern Virginia. There'll be a bit of a push of a dry air, And then you've got the big upper high, the big ridge out in the west, which probably means the heat's going to be getting turned on even more in the western part of the United States late this week. But at least this, I think, it brings a day or two of slight humidity relief.
Right.
And I think that's the best we're going to that we can hope for. The way things are. I'm not happy, Joe.
I'm not happy either. I'm going to be away for a little bit next week, and I was kind of hoping that, hey, okay, I've put up with this pattern for the last 2 or 3 weeks, but now things will change toward a drier, less humid, more comfortable airflow, and look what's happening.
Right, here's the problem for Saturday, because you've got that trough starting out. It actually stretches out from southeastern Canada down the St. Lawrence Valley and then pulls southwestward and cuts off.
Look at that. And the flow, once again, along the Atlantic seaboard, out of the southwest.
Right, south or southwest. Also, once again, this is not what you would, thankfully, there's no tropical system here that's going to be sitting off the southeast coast with a trough like this. Otherwise, it would be a problem. And it looks like it maybe Wednesday of next week we get that out of here. But then you got the ridge again in the east, so it's going to be very warm to hot, and then we're just going to have to wait for what follows. It's not fun.
It is not fun at all. But try to look at it from the bright side. You're absolutely right. At least we don't have to worry about tropical weather in the sense that we don't have any tropical cyclones.
Right, and it's not going to 100, which is even better.
Right.
So here's your front for Tuesday, Wednesday, but the front takes till late Wednesday night goes by. A little dry weather Thursday and Friday, and then here comes there's the trough drops to our west and cuts off. You get a low that develops in Virginia, moves northward. It actually looks like Saturday doesn't look all that good.
Right.
And then Sunday maybe a little bit of improvement, but I don't know. Then we're in between systems because another wave of rain is going to be coming up for Sunday night into Tuesday. Right. On and off. Maybe it doesn't rain straight through, Joe, but I just don't think this, with possible onshore flow for a few days, it's probably going to put us back in clouds again. Very muggy, very humid conditions. It's just not fun. It's just not. And by the way, in all seriousness, because I don't know if he's on tonight, but Daniel, is he on? I don't see him. No, but Dennis Cassie is on. No, just talking about West Virginia and Virginia, because they had the dam in Lynchburg almost broke last week because of all the rain. So they're getting a good break today and yesterday, but now they're going to start seeing some shower and thunderstorm activity. That setup for the weekend and into early next week is not good news for those areas that have gotten rainfall amounts in several feet over the last 2 months or so.
Now, Dennis Cassie just mentioned on his message he's leaving tomorrow that there is going to be a big, every year, either in late July or early August, depending upon the phase of the moon, there is kind of like what I would call the Woodstock of telescopes. Hundreds, sometimes over 1,000 people convene just outside of Springfield, Vermont, in a big field and spend the weekend looking at the stars in the sky. Dennis is among the crew that gets that field and gets those grounds ready for all those people coming up. And unfortunately, Dennis, it does not look right now like we're going to be seeing a lot this upcoming weekend. Maybe Friday night might be a little bit on the good side, but Saturday, from what I'm seeing here, Joe, looks like it's going to be pretty darn wet across much of the northeastern states on this weekend.
David Schwartz, if it gets past the point where it becomes a typhoon, I don't know where they are on the typhoon list. We don't really look very often, on that side. But the models do hold it as a hurricane and cross it over the date line, in which case it would get a new name. Japan, their hurricane center takes control. So I don't know where they are though, as far as the name list.
The International Meteorological Organization has, I think, the say over all the names. And of course, when they cross the date line, like this one looks like it's going to, Hector may end up with a name more along the lines of an Asian flavor, so to speak. So we'll see. But it's amazing that a storm that started out off of the Mexican coastline and has revved up to the strength that it is now may make it all the way across to the eastern part of Asia by sometime next weekend.
Actually, I noticed on the on some of the models, actually, the GFS eventually carries it up into over the Aleutians, into Alaska.
Wow!
If it does that, that might have an impact down the road in terms of the overall long-term pattern. When they go up there, they like to make troughs in the east,
right?
More troughs in the east.
But usually that happens, like let's say in the late fall.
Yes, which when it has some impact on the winter weather. But you know what? Right. It's a strange kind of I don't know if it's a strange setup, but just we're dealing with an unusually active Pacific and a very benign Atlantic.
It's like what the baseball announcers say. They come to the ballpark every day with the expectation that they might see something they've never seen before, or something that rarely is ever seen. And in this case, this is one of those examples, one of those anomalous situations where you have such a potent storm in the middle of the Pacific Ocean where there usually are none, a storm that'll make its way across the dateline, a storm that'll curve up to, as you just mentioned, the Aleutians, and may eventually have a say in our weather, or at least the weather in North America, which is something that normally we expect to see like a couple of months from now, but here we are in the middle of summer.
Daniel Kirby is who I was referring to with regards to Western Virginia and West Virginia with all the rain, so he's getting, getting buckets ready to bail if it winds up. I don't want to try to overstate it, but the ground is so soaked. One of the things I did notice too across much of the Mid-Atlantic and the Southeast, and Daniel pointed this out as well, not many areas got to above 90 degrees today up and down the East Coast.
Right.
Most areas in the 80s because the ground is wet. Is very wet, and that's helping to hold temperatures down. Rocco Fridella brings up a point that you and I made too. As far as the Atlantic hurricane season goes, I mean, it really looks to me like they're going to be homegrown systems. In other words, they're going to develop in the subtropics. I don't think we're going to see much coming out of the deep tropics the way things are at the moment.
And Mike Masco wants
us to start talking about winter. No, Michael. Not doing it. The WTC said it would keep its name if it crosses over as a tropical storm. I don't know. I think the name gets a name change when it goes on the other side. Maybe I don't know. I could be wrong. I thought it changed. They changed the name.
Changed too. I thought they did. Unless they only unless the name has to be a homegrown system in just off of the East Asia waters.
That could be. But even if you get a named storm on the Atlantic side when it crosses, say if it crosses down in Central America, pretty far, south latitude, where it comes across where it's still intact as a tropical depression where it's holding on to the name. I think those have gotten name changes before. Yes. So maybe the rules are different, when it comes to going from Central Pacific to Western Pacific. I'm going to double check on that. Tone Rob, what is the tornado at the? I'm not making out that word. In Tuxedo at the fairgrounds, we're all swampy and flooded. No, I was looking at Tony Robb. What is the tornado outlook the next few days with these thunderstorms?
Well, what we've been seeing a lot of this summertime is the forecast for general thunderstorm activity, and then all of a sudden they say that the thunderstorm activity will be marginal or not marginal. What's the? I don't even know anymore.
Marginal, slight, enhanced. Moderate.
I wish they would just keep it scattered in slight, moderate, and high.
Right, I know.
But we've been seeing that they've always been playing catch up. When I say they, the guys over at the Storm Prediction Center in Norman, Oklahoma, they put out a general broad brush for general thunderstorm activity, and then all of a sudden they up it to marginal and slight and enhanced or whatever. So I think what we saw last week, with even a funnel cloud or even a tornado in Queens of all places, I think you can probably say here that we're going to see strong to severe weather tomorrow, and who knows, maybe some locally strong winds, and maybe even a little, isolated tornadic activity as well.
Well, they got us in marginal risk from New York City. Draw a line from Philadelphia to Trenton to New York City to
almost Boston, northwest of Boston,
and then marginal risk north and west of there.
Now, tomorrow, I'll bet you that tomorrow, somewhere within that marginal area, will be a zone of slight.
Could be. And here's Wednesday. I'm looking at Wednesday. All of New Jersey, western Long Island, the Hudson Valley, west of the Connecticut line, most of Pennsylvania except the northwestern quarter, all the way down into Virginia and West Virginia, all in a marginal risk for severe weather. And that's all there is to it.
There's no words.
Okay. There are 2 words we can say right now, and that's goodbye.
Goodbye.
And we'll see you at the top of the hour. Joe is going to be at Fios One News, Lower Hudson Valley.
And this Joe over here, will be at Fios One News, Long Island, or is it Long Island?
It's both.
All right. And also
by the way, speaking of which, I may actually, after work, I'm meeting one of my fishing buddies. I may actually fish before I go home.
Oh, you in the dark? In the humidity?
You know, it's better than fishing in the daytime. Brian Fitzgerald will be with us in the morning. I think Jeffrey's here too, Jeff Banson. So if not, he gets a free plug for Fios One News, Long Island, New Jersey, and Hudson Valley.
And Addison Green and Brittany Borer in the midday.
Addison, who took 2 days off. I missed him terribly, and I told him so when he came in today. And Brittany Borer and Joe and I will be back tomorrow evening. So just, pay attention to the sky tomorrow afternoon for thunderstorms that will probably flare up. And we'll do it all over again on Wednesday. And maybe we'll walk in tomorrow and see a nice big push of dry air, but I doubt it.
Why can't we go to the powers that be in this type of weather pattern and offer to do all of the feeds, our normal weather feeds, for tomorrow and for Wednesday in advance, and this way we don't have to come in tomorrow and Wednesday because we're already covered. Everything's already covered.
Well, I have no issue with that.
I guess in case there's some kind of major damage somewhere or there's a tornado.
I think they would probably want us within striking distance anyway.
I think so.
All right, folks, have a great evening, and Joe and I will see you tomorrow.
Yes. Good night.